Dean Ambrose, a man that entered in the WWE with the reputation of being a lunatic, being fearless with whatever intention he had for the sake of getting the job done with his opponents. And with his ruthlessness, it made him the perfect match to align with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns to become the Shield, dominating the whole company from new age to old for over a year up until they split their ways and helped branch themselves into becoming household names for WWE. But even when the spotlight truly found Dean Ambrose, it truly just never belonged to him, because even in the light, he was still standing in the shadow of his own partners. Hola everyone, my name is Nando, and for today's video we're going to be taking a look at Dean Ambrose's career in the WWE, but more specifically diving into the mere moments that collectively had Dean Ambrose realize that he had to leave WWE. But let's cut all the yap and get on with the video. It all started in 2012 when CM Punk just turned heel towards The Rock, and the WWE had felt like CM Punk had needed a faction to help solidify his heel turn, as Punk revealed on the infamous Colt Cabana Art of Wrestling podcast. Also, it's just crazy how this podcast led to this, and to this. Insane movement this one freaking podcast had. But the original pitch for this heel stable had, get ready for this, had pitches for guys like The Big Show, Daniel Bryan, and quite notably, Seth Rollins. Punk rejected the first two and had this pitch of wanting his stable to be filled with young guys that came from the FCW roster. FCW was Florida Championship Wrestling. Basically, it was the NXT before the NXT. So Punk made the pitch to have Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Cassius Ohno, but Triple H and Vince both dropped Cassius as they wanted to elevate their new rookie named Roman Reigns. And so we were off to the races as Survivor Series 2012 CM Punk defended his WWE champion against Ryback and John Cena. And let's be real, not a goddamn soul remembered how this match went. You only just remember the ending. As three guys in turtlenecks help attack Ryback, and by attack Ryback I mean they were kicking his ass, as Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley went on to explain.
I remember the first night we were attacking Ryback, and I remember CM Punk pulling us to the side, but he was like, people are going to be told not to sell for you. Somebody's probably in Ryback's ear telling him not to sell for you. So make sure he does. So that was all we needed to hear. I was like, well, fuck him then. So we literally just beat the shit out of him, because I'm like, there's three of us.
So they killed Ryback and helped CM Punk retain. Also, originally, since they were called The Shield, there was an actual pitch to make the group come out in actual riot shields, as revealed by Dean Ambrose on the Stone Cold podcast.
Actually, the first day we came out, they had given us shields, like giant riot shields. In retrospect, if we'd have ran out with those, we would have looked so stupid.
Imagine the coolest faction in wrestling history coming out for their debut, and they just start beating the hell out of Ryback with actual shields. That would be like the silliest, funniest, and dumbest way to debut a faction of all time. Thank goodness they dropped it. Now, originally the Shield were also supposed to be Punk's goons to help him retain the title, but they only really helped him a handful of times, and in WWE, plans change, pal! And they stuck with doing their own thing, which in a way was a good thing. They were their own unit, being established as an actual threat, because let's be real, as kids, when you heard their theme song when a wrestler was in the ring, you knew they were cooked.
Best believe my focus will not crack. A man who I have the utmost.
Oh my God. Oh, no. I think anybody's going to want a rematch with Mark.
It's all about taking somebody.
And the success of their dominance helped them achieve winning the Tag Team Champions and most importantly, the United States Champion. A win that excited Dean Ambrose so much that he blatantly yelled to the camera, "Give me the effing belt." Now, even with the group being successful here, there was always a clear denominator that showed WWE's main priority. And that is, Seth Rollins was Triple H's guy, and Roman Reigns was especially Vince McMahon's guy. Everything about the group's creation, the main focus was always about Roman Reigns. When CM Punk had to face the Shield in a 3-on-1 handicap match, it led to this very infamous clip from the Colt Cabana podcast.
The pay-per-view itself, it's me versus the Shield 3-on-1. This is the most pushed three guys since like Bobby Lashley. They've pushed and protected all three guys, and they're like, you're going over. And I was like, okay, that's what you want. And then they stress, and they grab me and they stress. But you got to make Roman look really, really strong. And I was like, no, I was just going to fucking shit on him and beat him.
Yeah.
I was just going to tear through him and fucking Superman the shit out of him and just GTS all three of them at the same time, whatever. So while we're putting the match together, every 2 minutes, somebody new is coming up to me. Hey, you got to make him look really strong. And then finally I said, you know what? You know what would make him look really strong? If they beat me. Because 3 guys can't beat 1 guy. That's fucking dumb. But but Vince wants you to go over. Okay. But you got to make him look. God damn it. I fucking get it. I know how to do the job. Shut the fuck up. But if one more, I'm just going to fucking put him over. That's it. I'm going to put him over. And then they're going to look really strong. And then you're going to be happy, right?
For context, the reason why Punk won was because Seth Rollins revealed on the Edge and Christian Part of Awesomeness podcast that they were originally set to break up around that time, with Dean Ambrose being the one to turn heel and face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 30, with the possibility of Seth Rollins being a special guest referee, but the group got Triple H to help them decline the idea. My gosh, imagine where all 3 of these men would have been had this idea actually happen. Their plans for Roman to be this big star was as far noted to be around 2012, when Daniel Bryan won the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. The title that WWE was forced to let him win because the fans wanted him more than anyone else. But even with that, Vince still told Bryan to his face that Roman was set to be the next John Cena.
When I won the World Championship at WrestleMania 30, I wasn't their guy. Vince legitimately sat me down and told me that. And it was really funny because the conversation was like, and this is like a week after I had won the title. We'll have a couple title defenses for you in between now and SummerSlam, but at SummerSlam you'll wrestle Brock Lesnar and he'll destroy you, and Roman will be the next, and we'll make Roman the next John Cena.
All that work, and Vince was still convinced that Bryan was not that guy. I'm speechless. But on June 2nd, 2014, after the Shield had just defeated Evolution for a second time, Batista was like, screw this, I'm out. I'm gonna do Guardians of the Galaxy now.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna run back to Hollywood? Huh? You're gonna run back to Hollywood when your movie craps out there?
Triple H revealed to the Shield that he had a plan B, and that plan B was Seth Rollins. He betrayed the Shield, beating him down senselessly, and thus led Seth Rollins to join Triple H's faction in the Authority. This was a breakup that tore and shocked many people, but this thankfully began a new era where WWE had lost one of their biggest factions to now receiving 3 potential main event stars. Well, I say potentially 3. It was really just mainly focusing on Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And you could see that from the way that they booked this terrible aftermath angle with their breakup. As while Seth and Dean came out to new attires, new theme songs, and having a very heated feud with each other, Roman said, alright guys, you go finish your breakup storyline, I'll just be here with my Shield clothes, my Shield theme, my Shield engines, and I'll just go for the world title as if nothing happened. Storytelling. Their first match Seth and Dean had together was the 2014 Money in the Bank match. And Dean did not care about this match whatsoever that could guarantee him a shot at the World Champion. He just saw Seth Rollins was there and was like, cool, I'ma kill him. But during the match, Ambrose took a bad bump from Swagger and had to be taken out of the match. But then later, when Seth had the advantage and was close to winning, Dean just absorbed all of his injuries away and just went right back to being upset. See now, kids? That's the hater mentality that we all gotta have. Be like Ambrose, folks. But even when Ambrose stopped Seth Rollins' momentum and had a chance to win, Kane came out to cost Dean the match, giving Seth the win as Kane is now back with the Authority. Dean would then later get his match with Rollins at SummerSlam in a lumberjack match, but thanks to egg-shaped Kane's interference, it helped give Seth enough time to beat Dean Ambrose. Also, just by the way, where the hell is Roman? Save your brother, my dog! So to make sure Seth wouldn't win another match with some help, they had Seth and Dean face off in a Hell in a Cell match. To which Dean had the match won, but then Bray Wyatt costed him the match by spooking him with a freaking hologram and then attacking him afterwards to help Seth get the win. And afterwards, wow! you could really see how little WWE valued Dean Ambrose compared to the other two. Like, Seth was built up as WWE's next top heel, being put with the Authority, which is WWE's Temu version of Vince McMahon's corporation. Seth was having a big Survivor Series match that had him involved with guys like John Cena and the debut of freaking Sting. Seth was facing Brock Lesnar and John Cena for the world title, even though he was still Mr. Money in the Bank. Then he had the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time in the main event of WrestleMania to become the world champion. Then there's Roman. After losing the Shield, he went straight towards a Money in the Bank opportunity for the vacant world champion. Then Roman faced and defeated Randy Orton at SummerSlam. He even won the Royal Rumble, even having his cousin Dwayne, the political guy that ruined WrestleMania 41, Rock Johnson, to endure the man. And it was a win that was praised by many people.
Everybody's booing Roman Reigns.
We don't want you to win.
People are pissed.
Roman Reigns won and nobody here is happy about it.
Roman then went on to face Brock Lesnar for the world champion in the main event of WrestleMania. Now what about Dean Ambrose? Okay, let's see. So he appears in the 2015 Royal Rumble, then gets eliminated like he was nothing. Then he got the shot at the IC champion again in a ladder match at WrestleMania, but then Daniel Bryan won that. Do you see the level of privilege that WWE gives to these guys? Okay, listen, for added context, yes, I know Dean's fighting for a title at WrestleMania, but understand that WWE books these multi-man matches at WrestleMania when they really have no plans or storylines for the other wrestlers, but still need to give them that good old WrestleMania paycheck. Also, the IC title wasn't a title that WWE really cared to book really well, so they had no real big plans for Dean at WrestleMania while they did for Seth and Roman. That was just my whole point. Royal Rumble 2016, Roman had to defend his world champion against everyone in the Royal Rumble. And when Roman got eliminated, people had hoped that Dean Ambrose was winning because he was over with the crown. But nope, they gave it to the young and up-and-coming Triple H, who had to keep the title because we had to make Roman look really strong at WrestleMania. Then Dean Ambrose was given a shot to face Triple H for the title at Roadblock. Anyone remember that show? Me neither. And they had the fans fooled with Dean Ambrose hitting at Dirty Deeds, and the ref legit counted for the 3, which stopped the pin because Dean's foot was under the ropes. Triple H then won because Triple H has to keep the title because you really gotta make Roman look really strong. Then came WrestleMania season. Seth was out due to injury. Roman was facing Triple H at the main event of WrestleMania for the world title, and Dean, well, he was going up against the beast Brock Lesnar. Now back in 2016, a Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar match sounded like money. A beast going up against a wild animal who doesn't care how his body is going to be looking the next day because all he wants to do is kick some ass? That just mixes them all into a beautiful combo. And the story of their match, while simple, helped make it the most anticipated match on the whole show. Dean Ambrose was getting endorsement from hardcore legends to lend him their special weapons. This made us go, oh lord, we're going to get the most insane hardcore match in a very long time. Dean using Mick Foley's barbed wire bat, Terry Funk's chainsaw. Oh, I wonder how they're going to implement these weapons into the match. And to that I say, ladies and gentlemen, screw you. But also, screw me, because they did nothing with it. All they did was tease the crowd that Dean was going to use it, and Brock quickly stopped it from happening. He tossed Dean around like a pillow. F5, thanks for your money, folks. This was the most disappointing match out of the whole show. Except for this one as well. But we all knew it was going to be disappointing. A dream match that was spinning our faces and we were left with a nothing burger of a Brock Lesnar match. Especially as it happened at frickin' WrestleMania. Hell, even Dean Ambrose was pissed.
I went to the ring that night pretty pissed off. I felt like I was pulling teeth to turn that match into something epic and so forth. Yeah, artistically, Brock didn't want to do anything. Brock, I had a vision for that match to be the craziest thing imaginable. You know what I mean? And I put so much effort in, so much work in, and other people did too. And I was met with laziness.
So in short, Dean wanted something and Brock just didn't feel like it worked for him, brother. Things did turn up for Dean Ambrose when he won the Money in the Bank briefcase in 2016, then cashed in on Seth Rollins after he had just beaten Roman Reigns for the title, which finally gave Dean Ambrose his first world champion, but it came with a night that shared history as all the Shield members collectively held the World Heavyweight Champion. But while Dean was the world champion, he really didn't do much with it, only holding it for nearly 3 months before dropping it to AJ Styles. At WrestleMania 36, Triple H was passing the torch by putting over Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns was given the main event spot to face and beat up an elderly Taker. And Dean Ambrose, on the other hand, oh, you want to know what he got? Oh boy, get ready for this. He defended his IC title against Baron Corbin on the pre-show. The pre-show? Man, I don't know what to tell you. Keep this in mind, Seth and Roman have never done a pre-show match following the Shield breakup, while Dean has. Again, I don't know what else to say. Back to Roman. Shoot, it's 2017 and Roman is still getting booed? What do we do? Bring back the Shield, they said. So they reunited the Shield on October 9th, 2018 as a way to force the fans to cheer for Roman Reigns for once. And the thing is, they weren't really the Shield, as they were less cool as before and they were mostly just there to help Roman Reigns against the big heels who had goons against him. But then later, Dean Ambrose got injured, so everything got put on hold. And then when he did come back, Roman had then announced that he had to take a hiatus as his leukemia came back to him, which was an emotional moment that had people giving their sympathy for him. And then WWE thought this was the perfect night to turn Dean Ambrose heel. Yes, they turned Dean Ambrose heel on the same night Roman announced having leukemia, which in a mixed bag is a good and a bad decision, because you're gaining genuine heat with this, but you're also gaining momentum from someone's life-threatening condition. It's a horrible mix, but this heel turn turned out to be quite great, as this was something the fans have been anticipating to happen for a couple of months now. But this, unfortunately, took a turn for the worse for Dean Ambrose. Which of course has you asking, why did Dean turn on Seth Rollins? Why would he do such a thing? And the answer is, well, they kinda had no reason to begin with. Yes, a big heel turn like this was given no explanation whatsoever, because in Dean's words,
Rest assured, there is no explanation. There is no apology.
Because you all don't deserve that. I don't know you an explanation. I don't know these people an explanation. I don't know anybody anything.
but like, you do. We do deserve an explanation. That's how you get us invested in the story. And in the same segment, Dean was beginning to find a terrible smell and revealed that it was 100% coming from the crowd. So then they had Dean cut a promo while a doctor was vaccinating him to help him avoid catching diseases that he could potentially get from the crowd. Then adding to this, he had a segment where he came out with gas masks to help distance himself from the other people and their smell. First off, Dean, it's 2018 and you're 2 years too early to be wearing that thing. Secondly, this was freaking stupid. This was the material that you give to your big star? Really? And you know who also thought the storyline was stupid? Dean Ambrose himself.
We go into the writer's room, I start reading this promo. And again, I'm not trying to pass judgment, but to my eye, in my opinion, this is absolute hot garbage, awful crap. So I'm like, okay. But the thing that catches my eye the most is a joke about a pooper scooper. I'm going to let that hang in the air for a minute. I'm going to let you really absorb it, and then I'm going to say it again. Pooper scooper. I was like, why do I work here? I'm a professional wrestler.
They even wanted Dean to go out of his way to make an insult towards Roman's leukemia, but thankfully, Dean rejected that. And it's within this feud that had Dean Ambrose realize, yeah, I think I'm out of here. So Dean notified WWE that he wasn't going to resign. The WWE tried offering him with more money. While Dean loved the money offer, he just couldn't bear to withstand the pain of his booking again, so he rejected the offer. And so WWE knew and decided to make sure that he was punished for it. They had Nia Jax make Dean Ambrose look like a chump, had Dean constantly get his ass whooped by Drew and his other heels. Then they dropped the heel turn from Dean Ambrose because Roman came back recovering from his leukemia, so then they just reunited the Shield again. Yay! This then led to WWE hosting a house show special called The Shield's Final Chapter, where they had their last match as a faction together against Corbin, Bobby, and Drew McIntyre. And even with it being Dean's last match in the WWE, he let Seth Rollins get the pin as the show was being broadcasted in Seth's hometown. And even with it being Dean's last night in the WWE, he only came to speak on the mic to speak on how you should always work hard on yourself, and he gave his endorsement towards his Shield buddies, and that was that. This was a show made because it was going to be Dean's final night as a WWE contracted talent, but Dean wanted to make this about everyone that wasn't himself, including his Shield buddies, because it's not going to be about Dean next Monday or Friday because Seth and Roman are going to be on their shows, not him. And just like that, Dean was out the door, never to be seen again, nearly 10 years retired from wrestling, and not a noise has been peeped about his whereabouts. We wish Dean nothing more than a successful life in— okay, let's just cut the crap. So Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, has now left WWE to enter the realm of AEW. He's in a position where he's considered as the ace of the company, as he was there since the beginning. He carried the company through the pandemic era and while AEW was going through its rough spots. As much as people are begging for Jon Moxley to come back to WWE, we must understand that Jon Moxley is AEW's Roman Reigns, in the sense that they can trust that he can take care of the company, and he's done so with excellence. Now, to summarize his WWE run, do not take this video as me saying WWE buried him. They just underutilized him. And yes, I know he's a Grand Slam champion, Mr. Money in the Bank, yada yada, but I mean in the sense of where he was positioned. The Shield was the most dominant group of all time, but they split up to be WWE's potential big faces of the company, but it was clear to everyone, even to Dean, Seth, and Roman, they all knew where the company ranked them based on who they were more invested for, and 20 times out of 10, we all knew that Dean Ambrose was sitting at dead last. And in regards to his complaints at WWE, remember, he was in WWE for 8 years, he never complained and always did the job. He was consistently the top 3 or number 1 wrestler that did the most matches out of the whole roster in a year. He only complained when things truly didn't make sense for the story he was given. All he wanted was his character to be in a good direction and not to be treated like a joke, and yet he was. So of course he had to leave. The money should not matter if you know you can get that money elsewhere while doing something that you love, and thankfully for Jon Moxley, he found that for him in AEW. Do you guys think he'll return to WWE? Let me know down below, but that's all that I have for you folks. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, like the video as it truly supports the channel, and lastly, subscribe as we're on the road to 245 subscribers. And until next time,